go through that.
Okay, at this late time, I'd like to call the regular meeting of Monday, August 25th, 2025 to order. I ask all who have not signed in, please do so. Please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices. Please conduct any private conversations in the hallway or outside. This meeting room is equipped with the inductive loop hearing assistance. You will be able to hear conversations through the microphone on hearing aids with a T-switch. Emergency exits can be found to your right and to your left. This meeting is also live streamed via YouTube with text commenting available. At this time, if you please join the town board in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the last meeting of every month, we try to recognize the birthdays, our employees who are having birthdays in the upcoming month. So in the month of September, we do have 8 employees who will be celebrating birthdays, starting with the 2nd of September, Greg Knapp, Amanda Curry on the 3rd, Casey Page on the 5th, on the 13th, Deb Trulad and Steve Hendrickson. On the 20th, Tom Polsinelli, Joanne Henry on the 25th, and Stacy Preston on the 29th. All town facilities will be closed on Monday, September the 1st for Labor Day. At the next town board meeting on 9/8, from 6 to 7 p.m., we will hold a public safety informational session here specific to fire protection within the Fishers Fire District. The regular town board meeting will follow this session. Reminder, school will be reopening, so let's all be mindful of our students and our school buses as well. The Explore Victor Fest event is on September the 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. across the street and right down the street as well, behind Fire and Main. Regarding the New York State Thruway Bridge work within this town, County Road 9 bridge, we have been informed, should be completed at the end of September. Work will then shift to the Brownsville Road Bridge upon the completion of County Road 9. Regarding the High Street Bridge, this is a 2026 project. We have not received a specific start time at this time. Any new information will be shared on the town's website. In addition, I know we had the agenda was published, sent out last Friday. There are an additional 3 resolutions on our agenda this evening. Will be resolutions 7, 8, and 9, and that's all I have. Moving to approval of meeting minutes, we'll start with the meeting minutes of the June 23rd town board meeting.
So moved.
Okay. We have a second. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
July the 28th town board meeting.
Second.
Okay. I will recuse myself. I was absent. All those in favor?
Aye.
On the 11th of August, it was a pay bills only meeting,
Moved.
Second.
I was not present at that one.
and Councilman Guinan will recuse himself. All those in favor?
Aye.
And on August the 18th, again, this was a special meeting with Councilman Ogro was absent, and because of the nature of the conversation, Councilman Cusimano had recused himself.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this time, when our town clerk is ready, we'll ask her to introduce manifest number 16 this evening.
Manifest number 16 for 2025 in the amount of $558,358.37 has been reviewed by your Victortown Board with the following accounts charged: General Townwide, General Outside Village, Highway Townwide, the 2022 pump station improvements, the lighting districts of Fishers, Brookwood Meadows, High Point, Cobblestone, Coil Ridge, Rolling Meadows, Stoneley, and Legacy at the Fairways, S&S Consolidated Sewer Fund, and Trust and Agency.
Thank you, Karen. And up on the big screen, you can see we have identified expenditures that are in the range of or exceed $5,000. Payment 1 to Barclay Damon. Again, for July attorney fees, there are chargebacks on here with the total costs to the town identified as well. Number 2, Bluestone Creek Development, September Parks and Rec rent. Payment to CP Ward, pump stations 5 and 11. These are partial payments. Colasino Industries, pump station 5 for equipment. Payment to Five Star Bank. Visa charges, Heidelberg Industries, Town Road Materials. Payment to Labella Associates, and there are chargebacks identified as well. Total cost to the town identified. Payment to Macedon Excavating, highway road work. Mirabito Energy, diesel fuel for town vehicles. Payment to Northern Highway Supply. Payment to RG&E, and payment to Villager Construction. Total of the above-mentioned expenditures is $517,279.48. Total town expenditures minus the previously mentioned expenditures equals $41,078.89. Town board members, any questions on manifest number 16?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving to privilege of the floor this evening. We have the U of R Mobile Stroke Team.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jason Burgett. I am University of Rochester. I have with me this evening Zvetanaska, of the program, as well as Dr. Mala from the University of program at the U of R. What I'd like to do is spend about the program. And perhaps have a discussion about what opportunities might exist. Let's start off with just talking a little bit about what we're going to head on. What a stroke is. Oh, there we go. Sorry. We're going to look a bit at what a stroke is. We're going to talk about the importance of time when it comes to managing strokes. We're going to look at the idea of the MSU concept, as well as how the MSU gets dispatched to communities in Monroe County, as well as a potential benefit that we see that might exist, and ask that you guys take a consideration of that for here in Victor. So what is a stroke? Well, a stroke, the word stroke, comes from a Latin word that means to be struck down. And I think of it in terms of lightning. Now, you've seen folks or saw videos or heard about people who've been struck by lightning. They go from fairly normal to all of a sudden having pretty significant symptoms in the blink of an eye, quite literally, when they get struck by lightning. And a stroke occurs in a very similar method. It's a great word, stroke, for what happens. People are struck down by the symptoms that people experience. A stroke, in essence, is a cutoff of the blood supply to the brain. It can either be a result of a clot that forms in the vasculature or the blood vessels of the brain, preventing blood from going forward. Think of a clog in a drain or a garden hose. Or it can be a rupture of that artery that also prevents blood from going to the appropriate place, ending up in an inappropriate place inside the brain, and it causes similar symptoms. You may have heard of the 4 to 6 rule. We say 4 to 6 weeks without food, 4 to 6 days without water, and 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen. Well, as a result of that blood flow, that oxygen delivery disruption that occurs in the brain, there's some pretty significant symptoms that people start experiencing fairly quickly, being struck down. So let's look at what this does for us. Well, we use this mnemonic BFAST to kind of educate and show people what stroke symptoms are. The letter B stands for balance. So somebody who is normally like you and I, able to walk independently without deficits, without problems, all of a sudden can't stand upright, can't walk correctly, may look like they're drunk within a minute or two of having symptoms of a stroke. The second one is the E there. It stands for eye involvement. These are things like double vision, loss of peripheral vision in one or both eyes, just changes in vision, a difference in the direction that somebody looks. Normally they look straight ahead or can look to the left and the right, no problem. All of a sudden now they're only looking to the right or to the left. Facial droop. Usually it's a unilateral facial droop, so one side of the face, either the left or the right, will droop down and it won't activate when you ask that person to smile. It'll just sit there and not move a whole lot. Along with that could come some speech issues, such as slurring of words. The other thing that we see there with A is an arm weakness, usually unilateral. It's usually upper and lower, maybe upper's worse as far as that goes versus the lower, but any type of weakness that's not normal. Again, the idea of being struck by these symptoms within a minute or two of having a normal person who suddenly begins developing these symptoms. S is for speech. Speech can be either that slurring that I referred to back with the facial droop, or it can actually be somebody who all of a sudden, who's normally with it and has good conversations, who either just stops talking in general, or uses inappropriate words when you ask them questions. Those are things that we would look for as far as symptoms and signs of a stroke. And the T is probably the most important. While all those things are very significant in symptoms, T stands for time. And that's kind of what we're talking about tonight, is this idea of time and why it's so important to call 911 right away and get help as fast as possible with somebody who's experiencing those symptoms. Well, we know that stroke is a leading cause of death in the country. It's, I think, number 6 in the country nowadays. In Monroe County, or in our area of the region, it's actually a little more prevalent. It's the 4th or 3rd, depending on where you live. It's a little more frequent and deadly, quite honestly, in our area, our neck of the woods, so to speak, versus the rest of the nation. But it's a deadly condition. You know, I tell people who are experiencing strokes that it's the most significant healthcare crisis that they're going to experience or their loved ones experience in their lives. So it's a deadly disease process. It's also a disabling disease process. Those symptoms that I described earlier with that mnemonic BFAST, it actually is the #1 reason why folks are ended up in nursing homes, in skilled nursing facilities. If you went to a skilled nursing facility and asked folks, why are you here? What brought you here? And why are you still here? A good chunk of them would say strokes are the reason. And perhaps each of you maybe have a loved one or family member or have seen that firsthand, the devastating result of what a stroke does to the individual patient, but also the families that love that person. So why is time so important? Well, up here on our screen, we can kind of show you a little bit. Science tells us this. For every minute that goes by that somebody is experiencing a stroke, they're losing about 1.9 million brain cells. 1.9 million for every minute that goes by. Every hour, you can see the 120 million, and it just, per stroke, this is what experts tell us, 1.2 billion. Now, there's trillions of brain cells, but I don't want to lose 1.2 billion of them anytime soon. And you can see what it does to the brain. It effectively ages at 36 years. It's devastating. These effects potentially are life-altering and life-changing. Instead of being able to walk down the aisle with a daughter, perhaps a person ends up in a nursing home unable to walk the rest of their lives. Won't be able to attend that wedding. They'll be at the nursing home because they can't attend the wedding. Again, devastating, and time is of the essence. So with this importance of the idea of time, that's really bad news, right? Somebody's experiencing a stroke and now we're going to just deal with the aftermath of that. I'm going to here to tell you that because of that time potential, we can reverse things a little bit. And that's where this idea of the mobile stroke unit comes in. The timeliness of an intervention can make the world of difference for our folks that we take care of. Well, where did it start? Well, in 2005, a doctor in Germany actually created the first mobile stroke unit. You can see it up there on the screen. It's right there. It's a transit van, a Mercedes transit van, apropos for Germany. And in 2008 to 2012, they did a study, and they said, you know, we know that getting somebody to the hospital and giving them a potential treatment, and that treatment is a medication called TPA, tissue plasminogen activator. It's actually a clot-busting medication. Think of it like Drano in a plum, in a pipe. You know, we give this medication, and it breaks up that clot that's preventing that blood flow, and it allows blood flow to be restored, and it allows for an improvement or a resolution of symptoms altogether, depending on when you give it. The sooner you can give that medication after somebody begins experiencing a stroke, the more likely they're going to have a significantly improved outcome from the results that you're seeing temporarily because of the stroke. So we reverse that weakness. We reverse that language difficulty. We reverse those vision changes. We reverse all those things with that medication. And they said, because of that, I wonder if we took this idea of just being confined to the emergency department, right? And we said, let's put this CT scanner on an ambulance and take the therapy to the patient where they're experiencing the symptoms. So here in Victor, for instance, somebody's at home, they begin having a stroke, they call 911, there's a chain of events that happens, right? EMS comes out, they pick the patient up, they identify the stroke, and they take them to a very cluttered, a very busy emergency department. And we know that emergency departments are very messy here in our area. They're over-congested, there's a challenge of resources. Those patients, even though they're having a medical emergency, as I said, the most important healthcare crisis of their life, yet they're still going into this milieu where there's such a competition. There's hundreds of patients, you know, that are competing for the same resources. So what they found was by bringing this therapy to the patient, they saved about 70 minutes. And remember when we showed that slide about time, 70 minutes equals almost about 140 brain cells, 140 million brain cells. So you can see by saving that much time, that chance of having that recovery is improved significantly. Well, they gave that study out in 2012, and then there were two medical centers here in the United States wanted to be the first in the country. Texas Medical Center and Cleveland Clinic. You may have heard of them. Lesser known medical places right in the country. No, they're pretty significant. And both of them wanted to be first. Well, the first mobile stroke unit in the country was launched in 2014. It was at Texas Medical Center. They beat out Cleveland Clinic by 3 days. So they got the bragging rights for being the first in the country with something like this. Well, what does that have to do with us? Well, the University of Rochester saw what happened and said, okay, let's bring this concept to Rochester. Actually, Dr. Bala, who's here tonight, he was one of the gentlemen at Cleveland Clinic that was part of that first MSU that they developed. And when he came here, that was the vision that he cast for our community as well. We were the 13th one to launch in October of 2018. I've been on the ambulance ever since we launched. And it was the 18th program in the world at the time. Now, that's expanded over time. There's been about 36 or 37 mobile stroke units that have launched in the United States since then, as well as additional ones in the world. And we began serving Monroe County proper in 2019. Well, what does that mean for us? Well, our mission is to provide the earliest possible, again, that time element, earliest possible hyperacute stroke treatment to patients experiencing stroke in the Monroe County region, and I mean region intentionally. We've taken care of patients from Wayne County We've taken care of patients from Livingston County, from Orleans County, creating the greatest chance of a complete recovery. This is accomplished by bringing the mobile stroke unit to the patient and providing primary stroke center care on their location. Essentially, what we're doing is we're bringing the emergency department with 4 people and a doctor via telemedicine to 1 patient. Now, the odds are a lot better in that scenario, in that milieu, in that environment versus in a busy emergency department. And we save time as a result and improve outcomes. So what makes us special is our CT scanner. We have a crew of 4 on the ambulance, and a doctor that I said joins us on telemedicine. We have medication used to treat strokes. Primarily, we treat ischemic strokes or strokes with clots, because that's the most prevalent kind. But we also can treat hemorrhagic strokes and treat blood pressure and reverse coagulation on those patients as well. This is what our ambulance looks like on the inside. It's not a full body CT scanner that you can see in the hospital. It's one that's much smaller, but it does its job for our patients that we're interested in getting a head CT for. So how does it work? Well, in Monroe County, we end up getting dispatched right alongside 911. So 911 takes a call, and let's say Parenton, and let's say it's on Mosley Road or Turk Hill Road. Because when I come here and we get off on 90, and we're within a half a mile of Eastview Mall, and because there's a county line there, right, we don't come across that. And I feel like that's a disadvantage for you folks, quite honestly, because we're so close already. Well, we co-respond with Parenton. We get right off on 90 there. We're already en route as soon as 911 takes that phone call, and Parenton ambulance gets there as well. And we're able to bring that patient right onto the ambulance. You know, at that point, right there, we're about 25 minutes from Strong. We're about 25 minutes from FF Thompson, right? I did a Waze search, and right now I'm 26 minutes away from Strong and about 15 or so away from FF Thompson. So it's pretty similar as far as that distance goes. And we take care of folks right in their driveway, and we save about an hour, 70 minutes. And that's the data that we have. It's been like that everywhere that they do a study with these things. That 70 minutes time savings, it makes a tremendous difference. We're in service 7 days a week, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And anyone can call 911 and request the mobile stroke unit. We allow that to happen, and people do that. And oftentimes the primary ambulance will get on scene, and then they'll identify that this person, in fact, is not having a stroke, and they'll cancel us, and we just go back into service. We don't even show up on scene. So that's what we do in Monroe County. This is the benefit. And quite practically, how it looks is we make the difference between walking out of the hospital after 2 or 3 days versus waiting for a rehab bed in a rehab facility or a long-term care bed at a skilled nursing facility. I like to put it this way commonly. We give people the ability to go see their grandchildren or their great-grandchildren in the hospital when they're born. We give the ability for anniversaries to be celebrated with loved ones instead of having to go to the facility where a husband or a wife lives to celebrate that way. We give the ability for folks to enjoy their holidays together, to enjoy life, and to be able to have a restoration of independence. When you look at it practically that way, how it looks for us is we have about a 20% increase in return to complete independence for the patients that we treat on the mobile stroke unit. And these are patients that are going on a trajectory where they're going to have a lifelong disability. And because of us being able to treat them sooner, we actually have a more improved outcome versus the traditional ED system. So that's us in a nutshell. The thing that I offer you guys and I hope to enlist you guys with is this idea of how do we start automatic dispatch in Victor. Why Victor? Well, if you think about it, you're just across the border. And I don't think Monroe County line should be a reason why we can't come to a population center such as this to be able to provide services for your community and the representatives and people that you represent. I think that's ultimately what our goal is. There's zero cost for the patients that are treated on it. It's all University of Rochester. If you go to Strong, it's still the U of R. If you go to FF Thompson, it's still the University of Rochester. And really our request or our ask and willing to answer any questions. I might have Dr. Bala come up and answer some of those questions if you have them, is how might we be able to come together and say, how can we use the fire and EMS services for your community to be able to start that dispatch process and be able to take care of the folks in your community who are experiencing the worst healthcare crisis of their life and improve the outcomes and trajectories that they're going to experience. Thank you for your time.
Well, Jason, certainly, I think you got pretty quiet in the room, so I think your data certainly got the attention of a number of people here, especially myself as well. So you said zero cost to the patient.
Correct. And Dr. Bala can come up. I asked him to come up. He's the expert with all that stuff.
Anyone who hears zero costs, bless you, doctor, if you can do that. So I'm all ears.
Yeah, so there is no additional cost to patients. This is funded by philanthropy. That's what the capital cost of the unit was. When it was launched in 2018, it was funded by a generous donor, and the operational cost is borne by the university. There is no cost. The patient does not get any additional bill, whether they would be treated by the mobile stroke unit or whether they be treated by a regular ambulance.
So when the ambulance companies come into a community, I think there's a license that they need to get, I think maybe through the Department of Health, and I may be wrong. I mean, how does your service, if interest,
Yeah.
the interest is here from Victor, how do you?
You might be referring to something called a certificate of need.
Correct.
And we're not in the ambulance business, right? My expertise is in stroke care. So when we launched this in 2018, we didn't want to be in the business of operating an ambulance. So we contracted with the city of Rochester initially because they had AMR already as their contractor to operate their ambulance service. So AMR runs our mobile stroke unit. We own it from the university. We lease it to AMR to basically run it. And they provide the paramedic and they provide the driver, but it's our staff, such as Jason Burgett, that's on the unit, that's taking care of the patients day in and day out. So there's no CON issue because whoever's operating the unit has a CON statewide in the state of New York.
Any questions for the doctor?
So,
Jason?
so what prevents you from coming across the county?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question, though, because when we launched in 2018, and I live in Victor, right? So this was sort of in my backyard, and I wanted this unit to service us here. And when it initially launched, we had approached all the surrounding towns, because we were initially based out in Rochester. We got a tremendous amount of interest from everybody in Monroe County, Pittsburgh, Harrington, Fairport, Brighton, all the way out west to Chi-Li, Henrietta. I mean, we serve a large geography, and we serve all those towns. We never heard back from Victor in terms of their interest at that point. And then the pandemic hit, which which set everything back for everybody. I mean, we were still operating through the pandemic, but there was a lot of turnover. EMS has gone through a tremendous amount of turnover also. But the reason why we're here today is to try and explore a relationship that the mobile stroke unit could have with your local EMS services. And it could work, whichever way they want. I mean, we can co-respond, like Jason described, if they activate 911, and we can co-respond just because of the proximity. The local EMS service always gets there first and evaluates the patient. And if it's a stroke, then we're going to be on their way. We're probably going to be a few minutes behind them. Once we get on scene, they'll transfer the patients to our care, and they'll go back into service. And they're available then to serve the local community again. So that's an added bonus, so that they're not taking their unit out of service. And then we'll take care of the patient. We'll transport them to wherever is appropriate at that point. If it's not a stroke, then they're free to take the patient back and do whatever they want. I mean, sometimes people can have a seizure. Sometimes people, can have one too many drinks and it can look like a stroke. We see that in the emergency room all the time. And that way the regular ambulance can keep the patient and do what they need to do. If for some reason they get on scene way before we do and we are way on the other side of the county for whatever reason, we're happy to meet them halfway. We do this with rendezvous all the time with various agencies. And we can meet you in a park and ride, we can meet you in a Walmart parking lot, Home Depot parking lot, whatever works to transfer the patient. Because it's still quicker for that patient to get care with our unit than any emergency room in the Finger Lakes area. Our emergency rooms are fantastic. People work very hard there. But like Jason said, when you're a patient in the emergency room, you're competing against hundreds of patients for the resources. This is the emergency room coming to your driveway. Can't beat it.
So this, I mean, there isn't anybody on this board that's gonna say this isn't a great idea. So what's the next step? What do you need from us? And
Well, we need some guidance about how to get integrated with your EMS agencies or your fire departments, whatever the local response here is.
timing's pretty good for you guys right now, you know.
You know, in terms of even helping to broker a conversation with the leadership of those agencies to gauge the level of interest in the community and to get a sense of how we can be integrated and provide this level of service. I mean, we're pretty lucky, I think, in the Rochester area. There's a pretty good healthcare system altogether. But even then, you know, in such a small city like Rochester, to have this, we're one of 18 in the nation, that's a pretty big deal. I'd like to have it in my backyard.
I'm glad you made those comments.
Well, no, so I mean,
No, you're-
basically we need to get Jared,
Yep.
to get in contact with these guys and say, all right, let's.
Just so happens this coming Wednesday, the CEO of the Victor Farmington Ambulance is coming to see our Director of Finance and myself to talk about our contract for 26 and 27. So I'm sure this will be part of the conversation. How many mobile units do you have?
So we have one.
Okay,
Generally, when you look at the statistics coming out of either Germany, where this was initially launched, or our initial experience that we saw in Houston and Cleveland, I was in Cleveland for a long time when we were live with this, about a population of about 1.5 million people can get by with one unit. You know, eventually, I'd want a fleet of these, but the operational cost just becomes prohibitive. You know, we spend about $700,000 out of our own funds in operationalizing this on an annual basis. And that's all coming from university funds. So if we can have more, if there's a generous donor out there that sets up some sort of fund to do that, that's great. But for the time being, we have one. We have a second one on order, but they won't both be in operation at the same time. Because our unit is now 7 years old, we launched in 2018, it's got some wear and tear on it. So we're gonna alternate when the new unit comes in.
Jason or Maria or Doctor, you have information or contact information you can leave with myself and
Yep.
certainly
I
we.
can leave my contact information with you.
That's right, I apologize, you're right, the clerk's office has contact information, so. Well, very good, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
introducing this to
Appreciate
us.
your time. Thank you for your
Yeah.
time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Norbert Solar Farm, the decommissioning plan. Gentlemen.
Good evening to the board. My name is Victor Chacha. I'm here from Norbut Solar Farms, along with Mike Bogajewski from our project engineer, BME Associates. So at the most recent planning board meeting, as I'm sure the board is aware, the planning board made a positive recommendation for our decommissioning plan that we had submitted for our solar project, because under the town solar law, it's the town board's role to review and approve that before we receive special use permit approval. The planning board has not at this point issued a seeker determination. They will likely be doing that at their meeting tomorrow night. So we don't expect the town board, of course, to be taking any action at the meeting tonight. However, we want to be proactive to answer any questions that the board might have about our decommissioning plan at this point. And just to give a brief overview of how the decommissioning plan works, when a building permit is pulled for the facility, a decommissioning bond will be pulled concurrently with that. That will be in the amount of the decommissioning estimate, which is provided at the back end of the decommissioning plan. That estimate provides an itemized breakdown of every task, type of labor that's involved, renting of machinery, transportation of materials, to arrive at a cost estimate to decommission the site, a cost estimate that does not include any scrap value for the materials that are removed from the site. And then we take that number and add a 15% contingency fee on top of that, just to account for any type of fluctuation or oversight. The bond would be pulled in that amount pursuant to the terms of a decommissioning agreement contract that would be entered into between the project company and the town. And then every year on an annual basis, that bond would be renewed with an additional 2%.
So I just want to clarify something, and Adam and Wes, jump in here, and Lisa. What the town board did receive was a referral of the decommissioning plan from the planning board. We did not receive, or this board did not receive, a recommendation from the planning board. So that still has to take place from the planning board. And then secondly, I believe the town engineers are reviewing the decommissioning plan, the proposed surety amount. There was no surety instrument that, or draft surety instrument that you've presented to the planning board, or was that presented by your company?
Not a draft instrument in of itself. However, it's clearly laid out in the agreement what that instrument would look like,
And
and
that
then it
would-
would be pulled at the bond itself would be pulled and then would have to be executed independently of any type of agreement.
Okay, and you do understand that that proposed bond, surety bond, would have to be reviewed by the town engineer, by the town attorney, before it gets to the town board for its review and approval. So that has to take place too. But with respect to the decommissioning plan, again, it was referred to the town board, but there was no formal recommendation made by the planning board to the town board. And that, per the solar law, the town solar law, is required. And then again, the town engineer is reviewing the proposed decommissioning amount and plan, and would be providing its input both to the planning board and the town board before this town board would make its decision on whether approving it or not.
Certainly, we would of course would expect that the board would wait for the town engineer's input on that. We also understand that and anticipate that a decommissioning agreement would be entered into based on this plan. We provided a draft of that, as well as the fact that the surety would be put together independently of this. As I mentioned, the planning board has not yet taken action on seeker, so
Yep.
we'll be certain tomorrow night to address the recommendation with them as well, to make sure that they are able to provide that in due course to the town board before any action is taken.
And that's not to say if town board members are prepared tonight that they wouldn't provide informal input or preliminary input on what they've seen. I just don't know whether the members have digested the proposed plan before tonight. But nothing prevents them from tonight providing some preliminary input to you.
I do have a question for our engineer. Is this something that also gets referred to the county planning board? Thank you, Wes.
Wes Petty, Labella Associates. So the decommissioning plan was referred as the total package with the site plan and special use permit application. The decommissioning plan accompanied that to the county planning board, and they've provided their feedback. I don't think they had any formal recommendation on the decommissioning plan. I could double check that to see if there was anything in there.
If you could, and have that circulated, please. Thank you.
I didn't either see a recommendation from the county planning board on the decommissioning plan.
Yeah.
The other thing I mentioned, I do believe it was also sent to the town of Mendon.
Correct, yeah. As an adjoining municipality to where this project is taking place, the town of Mendon has also received the application and has even provided comment back to the town of Victor.
Just wanted to jump on what Frank was saying. I'm not sure if this presentation is maybe a little bit premature for our meeting tonight, given that we don't have the review from our town engineer and from other proposed decommissioning plans I've seen in other towns. Quite often, they vary vastly different from what their town engineers will propose to their towns. I'm prepared if everyone else would like to, go through with this privilege of the floor, but I'm not sure that it's needed.
Well, I think, we just got it tonight, right? I mean, we just got this tonight. We haven't had a chance to even digest it or look at it. So, I mean, I think, we're just spinning our wheels. And we know where the process is. It's still in the planning board, still with our engineers. And we've got information to process, and we have to wait for our experts to bring us back some information. So,
So it sounds like we're coming back. Please. Okay.
Thank you.
And we do appreciate what you've provided with us to date, and we'll get those meeting minutes and recommendation from the county planning board circulated to this board as well. So, thank you. Next, Woods at Valentine, PDD. Mr. Peter Vars in the house.
So, good evening. My name is Peter Vars from BME Associates on behalf of Commercial Street Partners, and Dave Christa, the principal there, is with us tonight. So what we are doing this evening, as privilege of the floor, we thank you for making time for us. We're appearing to introduce the application that we have submitted, which requests an amendment of the High Point Business Park PDD, Plan Development District, specifically that component of it that was known as the Woods at that is known as the Woods of Valentine. It was formerly known as the HOA lot on the original 2005 High Point PDD. The Woods at Valentine was approved in 2018 through a modification of the PDD for 294 apartments to be located on the 56.8 acres of the HOA lot. And that was approved with 14 three-story buildings, each building containing 21 rental apartments. As part of that, the amendment in 2018 also included a review and affirmation of the 2005 seeker determination and findings that was issued by the town board at that time. In 2022, the Woods at Valentine received site plan approval for Section 1, final site plan approval from the planning board, as is required through the PDD process. That replaced 4 21-unit three-story buildings with 2 42-unit three-story buildings, which is on the rendering here is the 2 longer buildings at the bottom east side of the property. These 84 units were approved by the planning board in 2022. That site plan approval has since expired by the conditions that are outlined in both in their resolution and the PDD ordinance. So as part of this process, we will be going back to the planning board to ask them to reapprove what is known as Section 1 as it was proposed in 2022. So there's no revision proposed to Section 1, which is 84 units in 2 42-unit buildings. What the proposed modification is, though, is to amend the PDD to introduce for sale townhomes into the project. These would replace apartments that were approved in 2018 and 2022 as future Sections 2 and 4. And on the rendering, that is the structures you see up in the upper left-hand corner and the structures you see up in the upper right-hand corner. So one of the modifications we would need, these would be fee simple for sale townhomes. So one of the modifications we'll need is the PDD would need to be amended to allow single-family units, because by Victor's own definition, a fee simple townhome is considered a single-family residence versus a multifamily residence. So that is one modification we will need. The other modification we will need is what was known as Section 3. Section 3 had 2 three-story apartment buildings. We are proposing to replace that with what you see as the L-shaped building in the center, in the upper portion of the plan, is to replace that with a single 4-story structure that would contain 100 units. Okay, so what this modification will result in is, first of all, it's a reduction in the total number of units. The 2018-2022 approval was approved for 294 rental units. This proposed modification reduces the number of units to 255 units. So it's a 39 unit or 13% reduction in the number of dwelling units. It would replace 110 previously approved apartment units in three-story buildings, they were all three-story buildings, with 71 for-sale townhome units that would be two-story structures. So if you look at the upper left and upper right corner, those are actually the two higher portions of the property. Those were originally approved with three-story apartment buildings, are now being replaced with two-story townhome units. So we are even reducing that visual profile by a full story. There would be no measurable alteration in the green space, the wooded buffers, or the development footprint area of this section of High Point. With respect to the request for modification to allow the four-story building, apartment building, it results in no visual alteration or impacts to the property or to the surroundings. And that is because of where we have situated this building. We have taken that building and shifted it to the west from the original Section 3 location. And what that does, and this was provided in your packets, is we provided a cross-section. The roof, the top of the roof of that four-story building will be below the roof lines of the townhomes to the left or to the west, and the townhome buildings that are to the right or to the east. The finished grade of that four-story building would be around elevation 800. The elevation of the townhomes to the east is at elevation 870. So just there's a 70-foot difference in topography there. And thus, that's why that four-story structure gets screened and shielded from the adjoining properties. The property to the west, those townhomes would be set at an average elevation of around 840. That's 40 feet above where that finished grade of the four-story apartment building. So again, those units sit way higher than where the four-story will be. What this allows us to do is to take all of those three-story structures and yield a desired density that the developer has, but in a combination of two-story for-sale units, and then combine the remaining apartments in a single building, 4 stories, but will have a lower elevation than anything else that had been previously approved here. So as a result of this, what we're here this evening is really to initiate the amendment process per section 21127D of the town code. We're at step 1, which is that the town board would, we respectfully request accept the application and then refer the application to the town planning board and the county planning board for review and recommendation as required as part of step 2 of the PDD process. We would also acknowledge that there would need to be a seeker proceeding. The town board, we believe, still retains their role as lead agency. And we have provided an updated full environmental assessment form, part 1, and we will work with town staff on providing them information and anything they need for seeker. So with that, that's a brief overview, but myself or Mr. Christa could answer any questions that you may have at this first stage of this request.
So we're private drives, I see, heading to, and again, at some point, and maybe Wes could answer this, and again, as mentioned, it's no secret that we're in a bit of an adjustment here with fire protection, but will our fire marshal be weighing in on this, or our local fire chiefs?
Yes, so a few things. We have reached out to Mr. Graham to meet with him. The 4-story structure is able to be served by the Victor Fire Department, just as the office buildings in High Point are. This structure is no taller than that. The access routes are being provided per the International Building and Fire Code, i.e. the fire lane widths, proximity to the building so that aerial apparatus can meet them, along with turning radiuses and whatnot. But all the buildings will be sprinklered also. So that includes the townhomes based on current revisions that New York State just implemented. So they will be sprinklered, but we have reached out to Mr. Graham and we'll be speaking with him to get his input as part of the planning board site plan process.
Thank you.
Dave, what's the square footage on the townhomes? And, I mean, ballpark a price point?
You have to stand up, Dave, sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to knock you out of the way.
Yeah, no, that's
1,500 to 2,200 square feet.
And what's your price point? I mean, I know it's early, but
Probably under 500,000, 450 to 500. It's going to be a great market for it, though.
people don't want to cut grass.
I do appreciate you showing the elevation and, what we could visualize there, and I understand it is at a pretty much lower point there, so thank you.
I just had a few things, and I think it's probably no secret that I'm not the biggest fan of PDDs, but I will say, since this one was already approved in the past, it's a little bit of a different situation, and the 71 townhome units that are for own and not to rent, I'm particularly inclined to. But before I kind of jump head first into saying, yay, this is great, had a couple questions. The apartments, will they be market rate?
Yes, they will. We may end up talking to Ryan Davis at the IDA.
Okay.
We are huge proponents about attainable housing. We do it all over the state, and if there's any way we can try to affect that here, we will do that. Attainable being affordable.
Yep.
We're sensitive in how we approach that, but if there's a way to try to incorporate that, we'll do it.
Okay, so you are looking to add subsidized housing?
We don't call it subsidized, but we'll try to do something that is more attainable for, nurses, firemen, healthcare workers, et cetera. Yes,
Okay,
we will look at that very seriously.
okay. Is the project not feasible if you don't use, I don't know another term than subsidies?
We have to run all these numbers. It's
Okay.
all dictated by qualified census tracts and, the median income in that area. But we run it, quite frankly, in all different areas we work in. And we're looking at it in Canandaigua, Perrington, et cetera.
Yeah.
So we try to do it.
Okay. Do it without? Is that what
No,
you're saying?
we
Do
look
it
at trying to
with,
do it all the
usually?
time. Absolutely. Trying to do, let's say it's a 200-unit project.
Yep,
If we get 10% of the units where it's 80 to 100, 20% of AMI, we try to do it, absolutely.
okay. But if there wasn't that, AMI available, would you still be proposing the project?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, we definitely want to do apartments there, absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
There's a huge need for it,
Okay, even if they are all market rate?
even if they're all market rate.
Okay.
yes, yeah.
And then, obviously, a lot of conversations these days about electricity in the area. Are these proposed to be gas, electric? Is it kind of a question mark right now?
That's a huge question.
Yes.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. We're on the phone with RG&E and PSC like twice a week.
Yep. Because right now, they would have to be electric per the state's new, because it's only over 7 stories that you can do gas, right? You guys might know both.
That's correct,
Okay.
effective January 1st.
First.
Yeah.
And to have gas installed, building permits would have to be pulled by the end of 2025.
Yep.
Right.
So where we are today, would not be feasible.
Feasible. Okay. I don't think this is a question for you guys, but this might be a question for like Keith or Lisa, but I noticed in the packet that we got, there were some bullet points about things that were in here. The application letter of intent do we have everything that was submitted? I don't.
So I can
Yep.
help with that. So
Yes.
we worked with Lisa this afternoon.
Okay.
The full, complete package, which I think Karen has it right
Okay,
there,
it's a
if
little
you can
book.
hold it up. That's the full, complete package. Those have been provided to the town.
Okay.
What we did to help out this evening is we kind of gave you the highlights.
Shortened it, okay.
Yeah, but there is complete applications that have the seeker analysis, view sheds, architectural renderings of the units, everything is in there, yes.
Okay.
So just to confirm, Peter, everything that's bulleted on page 1 of this letter has been provided.
That is correct,
Okay.
yes.
Perfect. Then I can ask them for a copy. And then, I think that might be all of my questions.
I'm not against it, but I'm not ready to act on it tonight. I'm
No,
not-
there's
There's no action tonight.
There's no action tonight. What the resolution tonight would be is to deem the application complete. Then it would be referred back to the planning board for its review and recommendation to this board. It would also be referred to the county planning board pursuant to section 239M of the general municipal law for its input and vote. And as Peter alluded, there's a secret determination that this board would have to make before it would proceed to voting on the proposed amendment. So, no, this is
So we're not voting to change the PDD tonight.
not tonight. Tonight is just for you to determine that the application is complete and ready to proceed with the additional procedural and review steps.
The one thing I would ask, and again, I apologize if it's in the packet there, is I believe, and I think BME was the engineer for the previous, for the DeFelice PD we did this year. On that, you showed building elevations from more than just like the graph that we have, or at least the graph that I can see in here. Would we be able to get that, or at least I would prefer if we could get?
Were those visual simulations? Is that
Yes,
what you're-
Yeah.
that's the term, sorry. I
Yeah,
don't know
we
the
would
term.
do that through the planning board process, because
Okay.
I'm sure that, I'm looking over at Wes, he's nodding, as part of the planning board review, because if we move forward from this evening, the planning board will engage in that as part of their site plan review
okay.
process on a preliminary development plan that then would come back here with the planning boards. The planning board will could request modifications if they deem necessary. So yes, that would be included.
Then I think generally from what I'm looking at, I do like the idea of the for sale townhomes and then the market rate apartments as well.
So is anyone in opposition regarding accepting this as a completed application and sending it back to the planning board?
No.
No.
Very good. Thank you, everybody, for your time this evening.
Next part of our agenda is the public comment. Why don't we check with virtual? No one on virtual? Any members of the public care to address the town board? Okay. Moving to reports of town officials. In your packet, you would have had the Parks and Rec report, highway and transfer station report, a traffic report, planning and building, Victor Fire Department Chief's report, economic development report, and IT. Any questions on any of these reports? Okay, I do not have any verbal report here this evening. This time, we'd move to the resolutions that are before you. Starting with Resolution 1 is the petition in New York State Department of DOT for evaluation of Brownsville Road.
Moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is the acceptance of the letter of credit for the Bluestone Trail.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 3 is the appointment of the assessor pursuant to the real property tax law.
So moved.
Second.
Karen, you have that? Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 4, setting a public hearing regarding the establishment of fire protection districts.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, approval of the acquisition of easement, Monroe County Water Authority.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 6, Willow Rise, dedication of sewer and acceptance of the maintenance bond.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 7, acknowledging the completion of probationary appointment for Keith Maynard as project manager.
So moved.
I just had a question about this one, because it says that he completed as of November 25th, 2024, but we're quite far into 25. Why didn't we do this earlier?
Well, I think it's a fair question, and many times we wait on the civil service to get back to us. I know there's delays with that, but I can't answer that.
Okay. I'll second.
Thank you. I'll look into that for an answer then.
Thank you.
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 8, the hereby appoint, Victortown Board hereby appoints the following residents to boards and committees.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And number 9, the acceptance of the resignation of Ernest Santoro from the Town of Victor Planning Board.
So moved.
Second.
With great thanks, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
thanks.
Been
Because
wealth
it's,
of knowledge, his leadership, multiple times as chair as well, and certainly they've had their share of challenges, some of the projects, so
Yep.
great
Because
job, Ernie.
it has been 23 years. I feel like just doing the resolution accepting his resignation and that being it for Ernie just feels so little.
Yeah.
Is there any way, and I'd be happy to put it together myself, talk to family, get something done, like a plaque, a resolution thanking him for his service. I mean, yes, we should vote on this tonight is, my feeling, but do something more for him. 23 years is quite a lot of time with the town.
Well, I'm going to certainly take your offer to
Yeah.
take the lead on that, if you would, please.
Yeah. if
Thank you.
Somebody has
And you
contact.
need any information, we can get
Yes,
that for you.
contact info for his family and stuff.
Yep.
That would be good. Perfect, thank you. I don't know if I second it, but thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Public comment, again, an opportunity to offer comments to this board. Okay, I do need a resolution to go into executive session for the town board members for, under rule number 2, financial employment history, personnel matters.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anticipate no action after that, just a adjournment of this meeting. So, thank you, everyone. Do not, but I'll catch up with you.